Ms. McMichael, do you recognize that letter?
I do.
What do you recognize it to be?
It's a letter of accommodation from Dan Bowen, who was the camp director at that time.
And is it regarding Travis saving the little young boy's life?
It is.
Your Honor, I would tender the evidence TM number 4.
I'm not precisely sure the weight of it, but no objection for our purposes.
Ms. McMichael, could you read that letter to the court?
Yes, sir. Travis, to achieve excellence in anything we do in life is to...
You can skip the word.
Most individuals. The rewards of achieving excellence exceeds monitoring gains. Your performance as lifeguard at Camp Courage on May 3rd, 2003 helped to save a life and was one of excellence. I'm sure as high school is completed, your focus will turn towards the responsibilities of adulthood. I feel confident that these responsibilities will be fared with tenacity and courage. The final reward will be one of success. Thanks for being there. As always, Dan Bowen, Camp Director.
Thank you. After high school, did there come a time when Travis enlisted in the United States Coast Guard?
Yes, it was.
Do you know about what year Travis enlisted?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Ms. McMichael, I've handed you what's been labeled Defendant Travis McMichael's Exhibit, I believe 6 and 7. And just so everyone knows, I missed 5. It's just inadvertent. There's not going to be a 5. So you have number 6 and 7. Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes.
What do you recognize those photographs as?
These are Travis in the Coast Guard.
You don't have the evidence, Defendants Exhibit 6 and 7?
We may have a discussion on the weight of them, but no objection for our purposes today.
Do you know kind of the rank that Travis achieved in the Coast Guard?
I don't know his rank.
Do you know the kind of work he did in the Coast Guard?
He was a mechanic and a coxswain. I don't know if he was a coxswain or not.
He was a mechanic?
Mechanic.
Okay. What other kind of work do you know that he did while in the Coast Guard?
While in the Coast Guard, he did law enforcement. He was in the Pacific and did drug interdiction, and he also boarded boats when he was here at there in California, and plus here at Mayport in Jacksonville.
In Jacksonville. Do you know if he did any kind of search and rescue work?
Yes, he did.
I'm going to hand you a kind of a stack of information. And let me, before I do, ask you, did there come a time when you went into, after his arrest, you went into Travis's storage unit and obtained his Coast Guard documents?
Yes, I did.
And then did you provide those documents after reviewing them to me?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'm going to hand you what's been labeled Travis McMichael Exhibits 8 through 27. Okay. Looking through Defendant Travis McMichael's Exhibits 8 through 27, you recognize those exhibits as the documents you provided to me from Travis's storage?
Yes.
And I would tender those documents as evidence at this point.
No objection for our purposes.
Starting with number 8. way, the photographs that are in 6 and 7, did Travis send those to you? How did you get those photographs, do you know?
I don't know if he sent them. I don't know. I don't know who to grab them.
All right, look at number 8.
Okay.
Do you know what number 8 is?
No, except for what I'm reading.
And what is it from what you're reading?
That he was to all who shall see this presents greeting, know ye that reposing special trust and confidence in the fidelity and activities of Travis McMichael, I do appoint him a machinery technician 3rd class in the United States Coast Guard.
Okay. So is this his certificate that he achieved machinery technician 3rd class? You have to answer that.
Yes, it is.
Based on what you're reading?
Based on what I'm reading.
Okay. Look at the next document.
It's a Good Conduct Award from the Coast Guard.
What year did he receive a Good Conduct Award?
March 2016.
And does this certificate denote that it's in fact his 3rd Good Conduct Award?
Started. Yes.
Look at the next
Oh,
document.
he's got a second one.
Yeah, look, the next document is number 10. What do you recognize this to be?
A Good Conduct Award, the second one with the medal.
Okay. Second award. And this, what's the year of this document?
This was the 20th day of March 2013.
2013. And the first one, the 3rd Good Conduct Award, was 2016, correct?
Yes.
Look at number 11. Do you recognize this letter of commendation?
I do not.
You have that?
Do I need to read it to you?
No.
Okay. I have not seen these until
Developments.
I just want to just admit to authenticity.
These are
She's not familiar with the documents, and I understand there's no objection to them coming in.
right.
Just identify them on the record, if you know, instead of having her try to piece together what they are.
Okay, that's fine. And that'll help move things along.
An objection instead.
No objection. In fact, I think that would be advisable.
This letter of commendation depicted in Travis McMichael's exhibit number 11. Can you tell from reading it what the commendation is for?
knowledge for work.
Yes,
That's one.
let me document first.
I'm sorry.
Mr. McMichael, and I hand it back to you, is this letter of commendation for Travis for his skill in helping make evacuations during Tropical Storm Bonnie.
Yes.
And what's the date of that letter of commendation?
May 15th, 2012.
Do you see the next letter of commendation?
Yes, May 20th, 2016.
2016. And can you tell from looking at it what his commendation is for?
Month. Assists the Carolina 3, which struck a jetty. I remember this one outside of Jacksonville. They were rescued.
What did Travis rescue?
The people on board of the Carolina 3.
A boat that was in jeopardy.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Looking at number 13, I'm not going to ask you each and every document to read it, but are these other letters of commendation and remarks regarding his good conduct while in the Coast Guard?
Yes.
Look at number 14.
I do remember this one too.
And what is number 14?
It's when he rescued a couple that were on a 48-foot boat that was sinking in the St. Johns River.
A couple of civilians.
Yes.
So tell us what you remember about that.
I just remember that he rescued this elderly couple, and he did get a thank you letter from the family.
Even the family, even the grandchildren.
Right.
All right, well, let's look at number 15.
That's the letter from the grandchildren.
So the grandchildren of the couple he saved, whose lives he saved,
Right.
wrote him a thank you note. And he saved that thank you note. Is that right?
Yes, he did.
Showed it to you?
No.
You found it in
I
this
found it
materials.
in his box.
Do you know why he didn't show it to you?
He's just humble. He just didn't tell me about all this.
Looking through, starting with number 16, and just scroll through, or go flip through 16 through 26, I believe. Are those certifications showing he's completed courses of work while in the Coast Guard?
They are.
Where was Travis stationed while in the Coast Guard?
He was stationed in Alameda, California, Mississippi, and then Mayport.
Near Jackson.
Right.
And how many years was Travis in the Coast Guard?
I think 9.
While in the Coast Guard, to your knowledge, was he working with people from all races and classes?
Yes, he was.
Did he ever have, to your knowledge, any problems with people that he was working with in the Coast Guard?
No, he did not.
What year did Travis decide to end his career in the Coast Guard?
2016.
And did he leave under good circumstances?
He did.
What did he do after he left the Coast Guard?
He went into well drilling a little bit.
Well drilling? Here in Glenn County?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
And then he got a job with Messick Marine, which is a contract company for Kings Bay.
Metson Marine, they have a federal contract to work at the naval base in Kingsland?
Yes, they do.
So Travis came back to Glenn County and was close to you and your husband?
Right.
Up until the time of his arrest in May of 2020, did Travis continually live in Glenn County?
He did.
And of course you and Mr. McMichael continued to live there as well.
Right.
And during this time period is when he had Everett
He did.
and has that other tie to the community of Everett being.
Yeah.
What kind of work, if you know, did he do for Metson Marine?
He was started out a mechanic and then a coxswain.
And did he have to get any kind of federal background clearance in order to have that job?
Yes, he did. He had to get one of the highest security clearance federal government.
And he obtained that clearance?
He did.
Ms. McMichael, to your knowledge, does Travis have any criminal record in his entire life?
No.
You're not aware of him ever being arrested?
No. No.
Was he working for Metson Marine at the time of his arrest?
He was.
And how was he doing while working for Metson Marine, to your knowledge?
He was
Happy?
doing great.
Did he like the job?
He loved it.
Do you know why he loved it?
Because he loves being on the boat. He
Being on
loves
the water.
being on the water. And he's good at it.
Did he get along with the people he worked with?
He did.
Did you ever get to meet the people he worked with?
No, I did not.
there came a time you described earlier that he had to move in with you.
Right.
Why did he end up living with you?
Because he had him and Nicole split up, and at that same time period, the house that he was renting, the owner sold it.
So he needed a place.
And
to
he at that time did not have this job that he had. And he got arrested and he could not survive, him and Everett, on just one salary. So he moved in with me for help until he could get his feet on the ground.
Okay. While he was living with you, did your neighborhood start to undergo some changes with criminal activity?
Yes, it
Judge,
did.
object to relevance.
It's going to go directly to the issue of bond in terms of future dangerousness. Was there an uptick in criminal activity in your neighborhood?
There was.
And how do you know there was an uptick in criminal activity?
Because of, there was that post, neighborhood, Tortilla Shores neighborhood post. And also, our neighbors talk. I mean, there's somebody breaking into cars, breaking into houses and throughout the neighborhood.
And when you say neighborhood post, you're talking about Facebook posts?
Facebook post, yes.
So there's a neighborhood post, Facebook page, right? And did you read the Facebook page?
I did.
And did your neighbors read and post on the Facebook page to your knowledge?
They did.
And was Travis made aware of, or Reed himself were made aware of the posts on the Facebook?
Yes, they were.
During the time in 2018, 2019, would you say is that the time period where there was a rise in crime in your neighborhood?
Yes.
Did you ever know of Travis taking it upon himself to investigate the criminal activity?
No.
Did you ever know of Travis stopping people that he suspected of criminal activity in the neighborhood?
I'm going to object to the relevance as to the issue of bond.
Judge, the state, through its information provided to us in advance of the hearing, intends to get into some of Travis's posts on social media that it claims is relevant to the issue of future dangerousness. Well, I'm not talking about posts, I'm actually talking about actions, which is even more relevant to any issue of future dangerousness. His activities, his actions towards people he suspects or doesn't suspect goes directly to the issue of whether he would pose any danger to anybody if released on bond.
Although I'm not sure the relevance of this witness. The foundational issue that I object to.
And I'm only asking to her knowledge. If she doesn't know, she doesn't know. If she knows, she knows. Did you ever, and if I can proceed, I can try to specify a little bit. Did you ever witness Travis leaving the house to go hunt for criminals that he suspected?
No.
Did you ever witness Travis leaving the house to go investigate the criminal activity after someone posts about burglaries or break-ins in the neighborhood?
No.
Did you ever witness Travis posting any kind of manifesto of we need to fight for our rights and stop this criminal activity?
No.
During the time he lived with you, did Travis have any physical altercations with people in the neighborhood, to your knowledge?
No.
Did there come a time where Travis actually was himself the victim of the crime in the neighborhood?
Yes.
And you remember when that was?
January 1st,
2020.
2020.
Okay. And what happened on January 1st, 2020?
I had to go to work, so my husband moved his truck, Travis's truck. He was parked behind me, put it in the side yard, and got out and just forgot to lock the doors again. And within 30 minutes in the 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, within 30 minutes, someone had stolen a gun out of Travis's truck.
And it was Travis's gun,
Right.
to your knowledge?
Yes.
Did he call the police?
Yes,
Did the police come to your house?
they did.
And did Travis cooperate with the police in filling out a report?
He did.
Even after himself being victimized by the property crimes in your neighborhood, did Travis ever, to your knowledge, take it upon himself to investigate that crime?
No,
Did he, to your knowledge, get in any altercations with people either coming into the neighborhood or who already lived in the neighborhood that he suspected of being a perpetrator of the crime?
no,
To your knowledge, did Travis get into any confrontations or altercations before February 11th, 2020?
no, he did not.
In February 11th of 2020, did Travis have occasion again to call 911?
Yes, he did.
Do you remember why?
He saw a man in the house that was being constructed down the street.
And did he come to the house to call 911?
He had to come back and get his cell phone.
So you saw him call 911?
Yeah,
You were home that night?
I was.
Did the police come?
I believe they did, yes.
To your knowledge, did they make any arrests there?
No, they did not.
Did Travis, well, if this court were to grant Travis a bond, could he continue to live with you?
He could, yes.
If the judge thought that that wouldn't be a good idea, are there other places for Travis to live?
There is.
Okay. Do you have family in another state that would allow Travis to live there?
I have, yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have an opinion as to whether, if granted bond, Travis would flee the jurisdiction of this court?
Travis would go nowhere
Why do you think that?
because he loves home, he loves his son, and he will stand up to his responsibility, and he wants his day in court.
Ms. McMichael, have friends of yours approached you about their willingness to post property
Yes, I
to
have.
secure bond in this case?
Yes,
How many friends are you aware of that are willing to put up their own houses or their own property to secure bond?
4.
4 different friends. Do you have any idea of how much equity those friends, or the total equity in the properties?
$400,000, I think.
$400,000 in equity that the combined families have.
And then a little more because someone else, the 4th one just came up. So I don't know how much equity is in that property.
And the people that are willing to put up their property, and I think the court will hear from some of them, are they living in Glenn County?
They do.
And are they involved in the community in Glenn
They
County?
are.
Ties to this community
They are.
and willing to put up their own property?
Yes.
Thank you, that's all I want to say. If I can, one question. Do you know if Travis McMichael has a passport?
He does not.
He does not. Thank you.
Sure.
So my understanding, we shared this by email, that she's essentially a joint witness for the defense. So
We're gonna let them put on their case in chief, and then we'll recall her in our case in chief. And Your Honor, since they're in their case in chief, I want to step out on just a moment.
Good
Morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
You and I have not met each other. My name is Jesse Evans, and I'm a prosecutor with the state. I know this is difficult today for you, but I need to ask you some questions about your testimony and about Mr. McMichael today, okay?
Okay, that's fine.
First of all, it goes without saying that you love your son, correct?
Of course,
And you're a supporter of his.
I am.
And is it fair to say that you do not personally know all of the facts of this particular case? You know what you've heard, but you weren't present, for example, at the scene of the shooting, correct?
I wasn't at the scene of the shooting.
Okay. And you've talked about having family that lived with you at the time of this particular situation back in February 23rd of 2020. Identify everyone that was living in your home at that time.
It's Greg, Travis, Lindsay, and myself, and every other week Everett.
Okay. And when Everett was not with you, that's because he was staying with his mother, correct?
Correct.
And what is her name? Is she Nicole?
Nicole.
Okay. And in raising Travis, I assume that part of your raising him, you taught him the difference between right and wrong, correct?
Absolutely.
Do you agree that at the time of this shooting, he was 30 years old and a grown man, correct?
Yes.
And certainly capable, just like other adult humans, of making choices.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had talked about some evidence that was presented by the defense. Some of it you don't have any first-hand knowledge of, correct?
Oh,
The documents.
the documents, right?
Right. Is that the first time you saw some of those documents today?
When I pulled them out of the things, yes.
Okay. And I want to get back to a point that you made earlier, because I'm going to talk to you about resources in just a moment.
Okay.
At some point, you indicated that Travis had to move back into you because there were some financial problems, correct?
Correct.
Did he lose a job?
No. He lost his job when he got arrested.
Okay.
Before he got arrested, 2 days before.
2 days before he got arrested. Okay. And why is it that he lost his job?
Because of this.
So at the time that defendant moved in with you, preceding the shooting of this case, money was tight for him, is that correct?
It was.
Okay. And in addition to your husband, you also had Lindsay, your daughter, adult daughter, living with you
That's
as well,
right.
correct? You said a term on your direct when you were being asked about things going on in the neighborhood, and the quote that I put down was that you said somebody is breaking into cars. You're aware that there's been an investigation into multiple people breaking into cars and things like that in your neighborhood.
I don't know if it was multiple people. I just know there was cars being broken into.
Okay. And then you were asked some questions about things that you know and things that you don't know about Travis and his activities and thoughts. Is it fair to say that he didn't share everything with you? You don't know all of his inner thoughts and inner choices, correct?
Of course not.
I want to focus your attention on February 11th before we get into some other matters here. You talked about a situation where defendant Travis McMichael called 911 after he went back to his house and get a cell phone, correct?
Right.
You're aware that that night he also got a firearm in your husband, correct?
Right.
Okay. And just to be clear, when that 911 call was placed, police arrived, right?
Right.
Okay. And they took a report, correct?
Right.
And nobody died.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about money for a second here. Tell me your source of income. I know that you said that you're a registered nurse, correct?
I'm a registered nurse, yes.
Okay. And at the time of the commission of these crimes, you were renting your home at the time. Is that accurate?
Yes.
That's not a home that you and your husband, Travis, own, correct?
Correct.
You don't have to give me the street address right now, but are you in a rental home now, or do you currently own a house?
Rental home.
Rental home. You had talked about having friends that were willing to put up their property, and that's kind of why I dovetail into this question. Is it fair to say that you don't have any real property, you as a family, that you could put up in support of bond for either Travis McMichael or for Greg McMichael?
That's correct.
And you talked about this $400,000 in equity, 400,000 plus is what I wrote down because there's an additional house, correct? That would be funds that are available between the two of the defendants. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. So, if granted bond in this particular case, do you have any idea of what their income, the defendant's income, would be? We'll focus on Travis McMichael for right now.
For right now, Travis wouldn't have income.
He doesn't have a job, so if
Right.
he gets out of custody, he has no sources of income.
Right, not right now.
Okay. And then I understand that counsel in this particular case has been retained. Is that correct? You as a family hired counsel for both defendants?
Yes.
Okay. How is it that you all as a family were able to come up with the funding sources to retain the defense attorneys in this case?
Objection, Mr. Dobbins.
It goes to funding sources, Judge, and their means, their ability to post a bond. It also goes to roots in the community and some of the other factors that the court must pass upon.
I'm not sure how they retain counsel goes to the community.
Well, let's focus on bond. I understand that what is being proposed is by this witness is for third parties to post property. I don't want to get into where we get for. That's what is being proposed here, at least in the witness. I don't know where we are. Finally, let's stay away from counseling and all of the different ways that can go.
Understood, Judge. Let me ask you about you as a family and your savings, your retirement, your investments. Can you identify for the court what sort of means you all have that could be of assistance in assessing bond in this
We
case?
have none at this point.
No real estate.
No.
Is your husband, I know he's retired, correct?
Yes.
Is that a funding source for you as a family as well?
Yes.
Okay. You had mentioned something that I want to go back to. You talked about having relatives in other states and that Travis McMichael in particular could live with. What's that other state that you were referring to?
Okay.
What other?
Florida.
Florida. Okay, so you have relatives in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Are they close relatives?
Yes, they're very close.
And what are the relationships of those relatives to Travis McMichael?
Uncle.
Uncle? Okay, very close. What other states do you have relatives?
Louisiana.
All right, and what kind of relative lives there in Louisiana, and describe the nature of that relationship?
Uncle.
I'm sorry?
Uncle.
Uncle, okay. And close relationship there too?
Yes.
Can you please articulate for the court, I know you've talked a little bit about Coast Guard service for Travis McMichael. Can you tell the court whether defendant Travis McMichael has ever left the state of Georgia?
Has he ever left the state?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
the Coast Guard.
And specifically, can you identify for the court any places that he's been traveled to overseas?
No. I don't think he's been anywhere overseas.
You don't think he's been
No.
overseas?
Mhm.
All right, I want to talk to you a little bit about a jail recording between yourself and Travis McMichael. And I know this is not a surprise that I'm going to ask you about this. You're aware that there are certain jail recordings that we've recovered, correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
Not just between your son and you, but also between your husband and you, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, there is an admonishment at the beginning of each recording that says these phone calls are being
Right.
recorded. Since we've talked a little bit about Lindsay, you're certainly aware of the fact that she snapped a picture of the crime scene from February the 23rd and posted it on social media.
I am aware.
Okay. And I gather from discussions that that was a topic of discussion between you, Travis McMichael, and your husband, correct?
Yeah.
Specifically, there was a time when you spoke to your son where he had a discussion about her needing to take down her social media involving posts pertaining to this case.
Yeah.
Okay. Florida and Louisiana the only states to which you have relatives that are outside of the state of Georgia?
Yes.
And I had asked you about retirement funds and investments, and I think I geared it towards your husband, Greg McMichael. What about your son, Travis McMichael? Can you identify any assets or significant?
Yes, none.
And no investments that you're aware of? No sizable retirement income or anything like that? Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Any of you?
Ms. McMichael, do you know if Travis would be willing to waive extradition if the judge wanted him to live in one of these other states?
Yes, he would be willing.
Do you know if he would be willing to be under house arrest so he wouldn't actually leave the house that he was informing the court he was
He
going
would
to?
be willing.
Does he have any money on which to survive if he were to flee?
He has a little bit to
How much?
survive. About $6,000.
$6,000. That's all his life savings?
That's it. That's everything.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anything on those issues, Mr.?
No, sir.
Thank you. You said that.
Ready to proceed? On behalf of Travis McMichael, we call Sean Sawyer, please.
Sean Sawyer?
Yes, Your Honor. Sean Sawyer. Sit there and face this nice lady over here. She's going to swear to you.
Right.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give to the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Sawyer, if you have a seat. We've been informed by the court that you can take your mask down.
Okay.
So we can see your face. Very good. Could you tell us your full name?
Sean Lee Sawyer,
And Sean, how old are you?
35,
Where do you live?
here in Brunswick,
Okay. How long have you lived here in Brunswick?
since '92.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Sawyer?
I'm a field service mechanic.
All right, what does that mean?
Work on diesel equipment in the woods, out in the field.
Who do you do that work for?
John Deere, Flint equipment.
Okay. What type of customers you have? Like corporate customers, residents, farmers?
It's a little bit of everybody. I mean, you got some farmers, we got a lot of construction guys, logging, we do a lot of logging equipment. Pretty much all walks of life.
All right. Now, are you employed with that particular company?
Yes,
You
sir.
own that particular company?
I work for them.
Okay. Do you own your own business?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you do any other kind of work?
Side jobs, odds and ends for people. I help my friends and anybody in need. I work on trucks and pretty much anything mechanical I do.
Okay. How long have you been doing that kind of work?
Since 2010.
And how do you know Travis McMichael?
I've known Travis since high school.
All right. And when were y'all in high school together?
Yeah, I was a grade or two above him, but him and my wife were really close, and that's how which I knew him from school, but we hung out time to time through high school, and as we got older, we hung out more, hunted together and stuff.
Okay, that's my next question, is what kind of things have y'all done together since high school?
We mostly hunted together. We've done some fishing together, but mostly hunting, hanging out. We've been to parties together and stuff like that.
And
Go out to eat.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just go out to eat. Just been to my house, been to his house. I mean, that kind of stuff.
Okay, and have you done those types of social things together from the time that you've known him back in high school and with your wife?
Yes.
Okay. Does that include family events?
I hadn't really been around much family of his until the last probably 4 years or so when he come home from the Coast Guard.
Okay. So when he came home from the Coast Guard, what types of things would y'all do together?
Well, he got back into hunting when he got home, and we hunted together regularly.
You ever met his son, Everett?
Yes,
Or his mother and father?
I have.
His sister, Lindsay?
Yes,
Have you spent time with them at their home?
yes.
What
In the
types of-
recent years, yes.
At least in the last 4 years, just so we can understand how you know him and the types of things y'all have done together, how much time would you say you spend together or talk to Travis over the course of a week or a month?
I would talk to him a couple of times a week, and it averaged, there would be, we may go a week or two and not speak, and then we would hang out, in the off season. During deer season, of course, we were together, every weekend.
Okay. In the time that you've gotten to know him and spent time with him, have you developed an opinion about what kind of person Travis McMichael is?
Yeah.
And in terms of that opinion, have you found him to be an honest and truthful person?
Yes, very much so.
Have you found him to be a violent person?
No, never.
Explain that.
He's always been a comedian, class clown, always wanted to make somebody laugh, always willing to help somebody in need. I mean, I've never seen him get out of sorts with anybody.
When you say willing to help somebody in need, what do you mean by that?
Anything. I mean, a stranger on the side of the road with a blowed out tire, if he, thought he could help, he would stop and help. I mean,
do you know Travis to exclude a person in need based on their race or their background?
no, never.
What kind of money they have or not?
No.
Okay. When you say that he's class clown, what do you mean by that?
Oh, just love to joke and cut up. He wants everybody to laugh and have a good time. He's the life of the situation, whether it's, you couldn't be serious around him. He wanted to make everything funny.
Okay. Had he at any point in time ever shared with you some of the frustrations or the emotions that he was having about what was going on in his neighborhood with crime?
No, we'd never, other than I knew his pistol was stolen, he had told me about that, but no, as far as any details, we'd never really talked about any of that stuff.
Did he ever make any statements to you that he was developing some kind of plan to go out and solve the crime himself in his neighborhood?
No, never.
Have you ever known him to be the kind of person to go out and seek to, intervene in the community like that in ways that were violent or hurtful to other people?
I've never seen him be that way, no.
Have you ever worked with Travis or seen him as a worker?
Not on an actual job. Doing odds and ends things together, working around the hunt and things like that was always, he was always very active, very work. He had a very strong work ethic, I guess.
How is it that you came to see that?
Just being with him. Watching him, do what he does.
Have you ever talked with other people that he worked with or seen him work with others?
No, not. I didn't really. Other than our group. He worked with a buddy of ours at one time.
Okay.
But other than that, no.
Worked with a buddy of yours doing what kind of work?
Well driven.
Oh, okay. I think we addressed that. So, if the court is going to give Travis a bond and let him out, are you available to assist Travis in coming to court or in abiding by the conditions of bond?
Yes.
Which could be that he has to keep a curfew. Are you willing to be a part of his life to assist him in those things?
Yes.
Do you think that Travis, that you have just talked all the ways that you know him, would be the kind of person who would run away and flee the jurisdiction of this court before trial?
No.
Why do you feel he would not do that?
because I think he's a man of his word and a man of honor, and if he's going to stand for whatever it is. I mean, if it's right or wrong or whatever, he's going to take his consequences the way they come.
What about the court is concerned that he might go out and try to threaten or intimidate witnesses, meaning people who might know facts about this case? Is he the kind of person, in your opinion, that would go up and be confrontational with others and threaten others?
No, I don't.
Why do you have that opinion?
Because, I mean, to me, he's always been more of a kind of stay to himself, with friends. And, I mean, he loved to go to the woods. He would spend a lot of time in the woods scouting and just being by himself. He loved nature, loved being outside. So I don't feel like he would do that.
Have you ever experienced Travis trying to obstruct justice or the work of police officers or community officers who are here to benefit the community or make sure that justice is carried out?
No, I haven't.
Why do you feel? Why? Okay. Are you willing to assist if the court gives Travis a bond in trying to find other residents who may be willing to put up property or put up money to assist Travis in making that bond?
Yes, I would.
Nothing further. Sure.
Just very briefly. Mr. Sawyer, my name is Jesse Evans. I'm a prosecutor with the state. I've got just a few questions for you, but not a whole lot. These hunting excursions that you mentioned, do they usually involve firearms?
Yes.
And you know Travis McMichael to own, possess, and use firearms, correct?
Correct.
And what types of firearms have you personally hunted with him with?
Shotgun and rifles.
Shotguns, rifles. You know him to have handguns as well?
That's correct.
Okay. And I want to talk about your relationship with him. With Travis McMichael, it's a pretty good relationship. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. You're a supporter of his.
Yes.
No matter what he would do, you would be there as his friend to support him. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You certainly wouldn't want to see anything bad happen to him.
That's correct.
Do you agree that you do not know all of the facts in this case? You're not an eyewitness, personal witness, or anything like that. You only know what you've heard about. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. And in terms of your knowledge of Travis and your opinion about him, that's based on your personal observations and interactions with him. Accurate?
Correct.
Okay. There certainly is the possibility that there are things about Travis McMichael that you don't know because he hasn't shared them with you or you haven't personally observed them. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. And you, if I understand it, have had fairly regular communications with Travis McMichael since he's been locked up. Have you had jail phone calls with him?
Just a few.
Okay. And Ashley Sawyer, is that your wife?
That's my wife, yes.
Your property do you own it? Or is it rental property?
I own it. I mean, it's not completely paid for, but I own it, yes.
You have equity in the
Yes.
Okay. And if the court were to exercise its discretion to grant bond to Travis McMichael, are you saying that you would be willing to put that house up for him?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned something briefly about your time in the woods with him. Did you ever go camping with Travis McMichael?
Yes, I'm pretty sure we used to camp. We all camped on the river when we were in high school. I haven't camped with him in the recent years, but back in high school, we all used to camp at the river.
Multiple successive nights or overnight trips? What are we talking about?
Yeah, a couple nights, usually Friday and Saturday.
Okay. So you personally have been involved in situations where Travis has lived in the woods and kind of gone out camping and things like that as part of these hunting excursions. Okay. You were asked the kind of general question that you would take some responsibility and role in assuring that defendant Travis McMichael would get to court, right?
Yes.
Explain, please, what your thought process on that is. How are you specifically, as an individual, going to assure that that's going to happen?
well, I mean, I would, whatever it took to get him here, I mean, to make sure that he showed up to take care of his business, whatever it needed to be, whether it would be a ride or you know, stay at my house until time being, or whatever the case would be, I would do whatever needed to be done.
You work full-time, correct?
I do.
Often, I assume, because you're full-time, you're away from the house when you're working, correct?
That's correct.
And what about your wife, Ashley? Does she also work outside the home?
Yes.
Do you have children by chance?
I do.
Are they adult? Are they minor?
Minor.
Minor, okay. Do they go to school?
Yes.
Okay, so there are significant periods of the day where you, your wife, and your children are out of school, at least when we don't have a pandemic, correct?
Correct.
And I'm not sure, what's the status of Glenn County schools? Is that where you live?
Yeah, we're in.
Okay, you're in school.
Yes.
So on a daily basis, they either go to school and that you're taking them to the car line, or they're getting picked up by a bus, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
I have nothing further.
This time, Your Honor,
So they're not released for a discussion testimony. Okay, you just do that. That's it.
Your Honor, has to use the restroom.
There's a restroom request from Gregory McMichael.
One of the McMichael, you need to use the restroom.
Let's do this. I'm trying to, let's figure out the next one too. You indicated 5 minutes.
yeah, 3 more.
3 more.
Of that length.
Of that one. Okay, why don't we can accommodate the jail. Okay, to finish up those witnesses before lunch.
State's fine with that.
Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, to the jail, we're going to remain on. Y'all take a moment, and then the moment the McMichaels are back on from the jail, we'll continue.
Judge, I'm going to step out briefly while they do that.
Your Honor, proceed. Jesse.
I'll wait.
One of the things that we have arranged at the preliminary hearing is that when the court's not in session, we're not actively presenting to the court, that we not be filmed, and that we go out to talk and move about the courtroom and not be filmed by the media. That was something that the previous judge granted because it was obviously arranging, wrangling witnesses and things of that nature. We'd like to have the same benefit this time, if that's all right with you, Your Honor.
I defer to the court. I don't have a problem one way or another. We'd certainly be mindful of the fact that there are cameras and mics in the courtroom, but I defer to the court whether you want to give instructions to the media on that.
I join Mr. Sheffield's request that the cameras don't film during the break. And I have one other camera issue.
All right, well, I'll tell you this, in a situation like this where we're still technically in open court, I'm not going to shut down cameras or mics. During recesses, I don't have a problem because there's a subtle difference there, but real, from the standpoint of public access. So when the court is not in session, I don't have any problem with going ahead and instructing media that we will not be televising or live streaming when we're out of session. And that should address the issue.
That's what I was.
May I bring one other issue to your attention? I received an email from a lawyer in my office to say that what is laid on this podium is being live streamed. So unfortunately, most of what we'll be laying here are exhibits before they've been introduced. After you described that document, you and I were talking around during my motion. So I'm not sure how we change the view of the camera. It's
It's the
surprising.
media camera, Your Honor, not the court
For
camera.
the media.
Like I said, in the court camera,
Yeah, you can hardly even see me on the court camera, but somehow the media's gotten some way to film what's going on here.
Is there a way of angling the podium?
They tell me I cannot move this podium.
so I don't know about the story, it's fixed.
It's fixed.
But do you agree with me that you are seeing what
It is, yeah, unless I'm,
so it's what I have here. So Mr. Rubin's notes for his direct examination are visible, and my exhibits before I actually tender them are visible to the world. I ask that we somehow do something to correct that.
Ron, we can rotate it, if that helps.
Yeah, let's try to rotate it to see, let's just check. And to the live feed, you understand the court's instruction on when we're in recess?
Oh, okay.
Sometimes the simplest solution is the best.
Right. Very good. Thank you, Your Honor.
If there's nothing more, Judge, I'm going to step out for a second.
Just to be clear, we haven't released any witnesses this week. So we haven't released witnesses.
Right, I understand you.
Back to the jail, I see both Travis McMichael and Greg McMichael. Did you both here and see me?
yes, Your Honor.
Okay. We have two back. As the court indicated, we would just go back straight into the evidence. Go forward.
Correct.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give to the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Would you state your, I'm sorry, we're ready for something. Would you state your name for the record?
Ashley Sawyer,
And Miss Sawyer, spell your first name because it's a little different.
ASHLEE.
Two E's.
Yes, sir.
And you're the wife of Sean Sawyer.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been married to Sean?
13 years.
You had to think about it.
We've been together longer.
How long have you been together with Sean?
17 years.
Where do you live? Not address, but county, city.
Brunswick.
And how long have you lived in Brunswick?
My whole life.
Born and raised here.
Yes, sir.
You go to Brunswick High School.
Yes, sir.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Sawyer?
Medical assistant.
And what kind of, without naming the practice, what kind of practice is it?
Skin.
Dermatology practice.
Yes, sir.
And what are your duties as a medical assistant?
I interact with patients and treat patients alongside of the providers.
Do you know Travis McMichael?
Yes, sir.
How do you know Travis?
I've known Travis since middle school.
Like 7th, 8th grade?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how would you describe your relationship with Travis?
I would consider him my best friend.
Have you remained friends from middle school till today?
Yes, sir.
How often, before he was arrested, did you interact with Travis?
Probably 3 or 4 times a week.
And how would you interact with him?
Phone calls, birthday parties, family gatherings, vacation, hunting, fishing.
Do you hunt?
Yes, sir.
Do you fish?
Yes, sir.
You've done those with Travis McMichael.
Yes, sir.
Do you, and you said you've gone on vacations with him. What kind of vacations?
Family vacations.
You and Sean and Travis with Nicole?
Not with Nicole, no, sir.
Okay, so since the break.
Yes, sir.
How would you describe Travis McMichael?
Happy.
Why happy?
Because he is the happiest person I've ever met. Wants to make everybody else laugh and have fun.
Have you ever seen him instigate confrontations with people?
Never.
Have you ever seen him take it upon himself to play the role of police officer?
Never.
Did he ever share with you his concerns about crime in his neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
And how would he share those?
He just spoke about how they were having a lot of break-ins throughout the several months prior to anything happening.
Were you aware of the break-in of his own truck?
Yes, sir.
And how were you aware of that?
Just speaking to him on a daily basis, he said that they had break-ins at their own house and in his truck.
Did he express any frustration with the ability to catch the perpetrator or perpetrators?
No, sir.
Do you know if has he ever expressed to you a willingness or a desire to hunt down the perpetrator himself?
Never.
Did he ever talk to you after his arrest on February 20, I'm sorry, not his arrest, but the incident on February 23rd, about the incident?
Yes, sir.
Did he ever talk to you about any desire to flee the jurisdiction of this court?
No, sir.
Did he ever express any desire that if he got arrested, he would face trial? That he would stay and stand up?
Yes, sir.
What did he say?
That he was fully aware of what happened, that he didn't feel like anything that he'd done was on the wrong side of the law, that they were willing to face whatever they needed to.
So there was a couple months between February 23rd, obviously, and his arrest on May 7th. Are you aware, or did he express to you any indications that he was trying to get out of the jurisdiction or leave Lynch County?
No, sir.
Leave the state of Georgia?
No, sir.
Act in any way to intimidate witnesses to the shooting?
No, sir.
Or the surrounding circumstances to the shooting?
No, sir.
Did he ever express to you any kind of hate for classes of people or types of people in general?
No, sir.
You've talked to him on jail calls since he's been in jail?
Yes, sir.
How often do you talk to him?
I've talked to him 4 times since he's been in jail.
Has he ever expressed to you in those jail calls a desire to, if he got out on bond, he was going to hit the road?
No, sir. All he's ever said is he wants to see his son.
His son, Everett. You know Everett?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any children?
Yes, sir.
How old are your children?
12 and 7.
Do they sometimes play with Travis's son?
Yes, sir.
When you're together?
Yes, sir.
Do you know his feelings towards his son, Everett?
Yes, sir.
From how? How do you know his feelings? That's a bad question.
Just being around them, the love that he gives that child, and my children and any other children around.
Would you say he's a good father?
An excellent father.
Do you have any concerns that if he were released on bond, that he would pose any kind of danger to the community?
No, sir.
We've heard that you hunts, your husband Sean hunts, Travis hunts. He had, prior to his arrest, weapons, shotgun, rifle, handgun. Do you think there'd be any problem with a ban on possessing weapons if the court were to impose that condition of bond? I think Travis would give up his gun.
I feel like he would if that's what it takes to get out.
Thank you, Ms. Sawyer.
Ms. Sawyer, Jesse Evans, the prosecutor with the state. Don't have many questions for you. The hunting that you referred to, that was with firearms, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And just estimate, how many occasions have you gone hunting with Travis McMichael?
Over the years, 10, 15.
You all are close enough that you've got a good, tight relationship. Best friend is how you identified it, correct?
Yes, sir.
The vacations that your families went on together, where were those ever out of the state of Georgia?
In Florida.
Florida? Okay, what part of Florida?
In Steinhatchee.
Great. And you're aware that he has an uncle that lives down in Florida as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
I learned about a relative that lives in Louisiana as well. Are you familiar with that?
No, sir.
Okay. And you talked about speaking with the defendant, Travis McMichael, after this happened. Did I get this quote correct? You said he's willing to face whatever he needed to. Is that essentially what he told you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that he also thought that he did no wrong in this case. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. You were asked some questions about hating groups. Is it fair to say that when it comes to knowing what Travis McMichael's thoughts are on particular things, you only know what you observed and what he shared with you? Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. It may be that if he had some thoughts regarding different things that you haven't seen or haven't heard come from his mouth, that you may not be aware of those things, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Any? No, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
have a seat, you can remove your mask.
Yeah, and I think we need to make sure we know when witnesses are not in the courtroom, so we can be careful about that. The witnesses in the courtroom,
Yes.
I
understand what the court is saying, yes.
Keep the witnesses out of the courtroom
Until we call for the actual witness. We will do that. Your Honor. Zach, good afternoon. So tell us your full name.
Zachary Tuttle Langford,
And Zach, how old are you?
35,
Where are you from?
Brunswick, Georgia.
How long have you continued to live in Brunswick your whole life?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What kind of work do you do?
I work for a well drilling company,
All right. What are your responsibilities?
maintenance on municipal wells, house wells, equipment, welding.
Okay. I mean, personal residence wells as
Yes, sir.
well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And where does your work take you? Is it just within Brunswick, or do you go outside that?
I go from Ocean Forest to Alma to,
Do you know Travis McMichael?
yes, sir.
How do you know him?
I've known him for 30 plus years.
All right. How old would that make you both when you first met him, do you think?
5, 6.
Okay. Well, we've had Miss Sawyer here claiming to be his best friend. Do you disagree with that, or
Yes, sir.
are y'all close? You and Travis?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah.
Okay. How close would you say that you are?
He's my best friend.
So you're in competition with him. All right. So tell me, what types of things do you and Travis do together?
Hunt, fish. I mean, just a multitude of things.
Do you spend family time together?
I mean, we have dinner together, families have dinner together. I mean, yeah.
Are you married?
Yes, sir.
Do you have kids?
Yes, sir.
How many children do you have?
I have 2
Under the age of?
under the age of 10.
Do you know Travis's son, Everett?
Yes, sir.
What about his parents? Do you know Travis's parents?
Yes, sir.
Do y'all spend time together with your children and your families?
Yes, sir.
What type of time does that include? Is it just dinner at each other's houses? Do y'all travel together?
But just dinner, cookout, just hanging out.
About how many times a month would you say, or a week would you say, that you talk with Travis or spend time with Travis?
I mean, I talk to him on a daily basis. Spend time with him on weekends, weeknight, you know.
Have you ever worked together?
Yes, sir.
What type of work did y'all do together?
He worked at the well drilling company with myself.
All right, so you were able to observe him as a worker.
Yes, sir.
How long did y'all work together at that company?
2 year and a half, 2 years.
Did you see how he worked with others?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And by others, I mean people of different backgrounds, different races, different sort of status, community, all that.
Yes, sir.
How would you classify or qualify the way that he worked with others from different backgrounds?
He got along with everybody. I never saw him argue with anybody. And
Did you find that he was respectful or not?
well, he was respectful, yes, sir.
All right, can you explain that?
He never not did what he was told to do by the gentleman that he worked with. You know, they never argued with each other, fussed or fought or anything. I mean, he, yes sir, no sir, did what he was told.
Have you worked with him in any other capacity other than the well drilling company?
No, sir.
Okay, so in that working environment and in that social environment growing up together, have you come to develop an opinion about what Travis's reputation in the community is, not just what you think about him, but in the community, about him being an honest, trustworthy person?
Yes, sir.
And what is that reputation?
And not a lot of people out there that don't trust him, that wouldn't trust him to do anything. I mean, he's never belittled anyone, I guess, to the point where it would be they didn't like him.
So on that, have you ever seen him be confrontational with somebody to try to cause an argument or cause a fight?
Never.
What about his reputation for being a violent person?
He's not.
Okay, why do you say that?
I've known him 30 plus years, and I've
Never seen him mad one time. Mad to fight. I've never seen him.
How would you describe his personality?
Funny, outgoing, wants to make you laugh, wants to make everybody laugh.
Did Travis ever share with you that his neighborhood was having some issues with break-ins or problems?
Yes, sir.
Were you aware that he had gotten a gun stolen from him? Did he share that with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did he ever lose his temper about that or swear vengeance or violence against those people in this community that were committing those crimes?
No, sir.
Is that the kind of person that you know him to be?
No.
After the shooting incident that happened on the 23rd, did Travis share with you anything about how that shooting and that death made him feel?
Felt remorse. He didn't like what happened.
Did he express to you about whether it caused him, sleeping problems or emotional problems, that he was sad about it, anything like that? Did he share that with you, I guess is my question.
Yes, sir. He talked about he was having trouble sleeping. Lost his appetite, I know, for a couple of days, a week or two. He felt remorse for it.
Okay. Are you aware whether or not Travis has friends that fall across the diversity of our community, and whether he's got personal relationships with people who are black, white, and other?
Yes, sir. A couple.
Have you seen him in those relationships?
Yes, sir. One.
Okay. And how would you describe that friendship?
Just same friendship me and that same fella had. He was no different. We treated him different. Never.
Do you have any core beliefs or a way that you were raised that's in common with Travis about how you treat people?
Treat everybody with respect. How I was raised. He was too. I was around him long enough to know his father was in the same boat mine was. Always have respect for your elder, everybody, until they give you a reason not to respect them. But
okay.
Always.
Did you ever see him get violent against people of color?
No, sir.
One of the considerations that the court is here to determine today is whether or not to let Travis have a bond. Part of that consideration is to try to determine if Travis is the kind of guy who was going to run away if he were to be given a bond. Essentially flee the jurisdiction of this court. Do you have any opinion about whether or not the Travis McMichael you know is the type of person that would run away from this problem or flee the jurisdiction of the court?
No.
What is your opinion about whether he would do that?
He would not do it.
Why do you think he wouldn't do that?
He's got more sense than that. He's not gonna mess anything up. He just wouldn't do it. He's gonna abide by the law. The law tells him to stay where he's supposed to stay. He's gonna stay where he's supposed to stay.
What about the court's concern that he might just go out there in the community and start confronting potential witnesses in this case and try to intimidate those people to testify a certain way or not to say certain things when they come to court? Do you think that Travis McMichael is the kind of person that would do that?
No, sir.
Why not?
He's not that way. He's not going to do anything outside of the scope of whatever he's told not to do. If he's told not to do anything, that's what's going to happen.
Have you and your wife discussed whether or not you would be willing to assist Travis in making a bond in terms of the financial responsibilities associated with that?
Yes, sir.
You would be willing to do that?
Yes, sir.
And what all have you discussed that you would be willing to do?
My property. Both of my properties that I own or have. No.
Where are those properties located in terms of this county? Are they in Glenn County?
Yes, sir.
In Brunswick?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you own both of those properties?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you understand that by putting up your property means you need to sign the deed over to the court? To lose those properties, if Travis McMichael decides to flee the jurisdiction of the court, that those things could be forever taken from you to satisfy his return to court. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And are you still willing to put up those properties?
Yes, sir.
Do you know of others who are willing to do that?
Yes, sir.
Another one of the questions that I have for you is, Travis needs to come to court.
Yes.
He needs to be here and be on time and always be present. Are you willing to assist him, whether it's just giving him a ride or being his alarm clock that morning or making sure that he's in the right mindset to abide by all the rules and conditions of being on bond?
Yes, sir.
If the court decided that he wanted to be put on house arrest, would you be willing to let him live at your house?
Yes, sir.
If the court decided that he needed to be on an ankle monitor, which requires a cost, a daily cost, would you be willing to help him financially with that daily cost?
As much as I could, yes, sir.
If Travis was able to get a bond and not be on home confinement and work and be employed, does he have the type of skills that you're aware of that you think he could work around Glenn, Brunswick to make money to support himself?
Yes, sir.
Do you know of people who would be willing to give him a job?
Right off, I mean, I probably could think of a couple, but I mean, that's not, can't say for sure they would, but.
It's been a touchy political case.
Yes, sir.
And that's impacted everybody.
It's impacted everybody, yes, sir.
I understand. But it's your opinion, though, that he has the kind of skills to make money and you would try to help him work if you could?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Don't have anything further? Mr. Evans has some questions.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Langford, my name is Jesse Evans. I'm a prosecutor with the state. You and I have not had a chance to talk, but I understand that you talked regularly with the defendant based on your testimony prior to his arrest, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you couched your relationship with him as being best friends. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
And you were interviewed by the Georgia Bureau of Investigations regarding this case back on May the 13th of 2020. And at that time, you indicated that you knew the defendant since he was 4 years old.
Yes, sir.
That being Travis McMichael, since we have multiple defendants here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you also know Greg McMichael?
Well, yeah, being associated with Travis.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You were asked a question about relationships that Travis McMichael might have with minorities, and I think you said that you know of one black friend that he has. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can't think of any others.
I know two, but one that he was more prevalent to be around than the other.
I got you. Well, let's focus on who Travis McMichael knew. I want to ask you about this property that you've just given testimony about. You said you have two pieces of property. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are they both here in Glenn County?
Yes, sir.
And your testimony is that if he was granted bond, he being Travis McMichael, you'd be willing to put up your property in support of his bond, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then candidly, when you were asked about work, you know Travis McMichael has no job right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there's no guaranteed work for him if he were granted bond, correct?
Correct.
To your knowledge, he doesn't own any house or any assets out in the community at present, correct? Okay. I want to ask you, since the topic was brought up, first of all, you're a supporter of Travis McMichael, correct? You're on his behalf.
Yes, sir.
And whatever happens in this case, you'll continue to be a supporter of his just as a lifelong friend, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You'll admit, though, you don't know all of the facts of this case. You know what defendant Travis McMichael told you afterwards, correct?
The facts that I've heard come out, media and other sources, yes, sir.
One of the things that you told law enforcement is that you know that Travis McMichael knows the difference between right and wrong because he's has somewhat of a background in that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you also told the Georgia Bureau of Investigations that you know that Travis McMichael regularly carries a firearm.
Yes, sir.
You'd seen him.
Judge, just as a matter of fact, he's testifying about what the witness told earlier. I think that's improper. Why he just asked the witness these questions? This feels like this is an improper impeachment. He just should ask the witness what he knows instead of telling the witness what he told somebody else. I think it's improper impeachment, if that's what it is.
I'm not sure that it's impeachment, but this is cross-examination. So
Cross-examination.
I think so. Yeah, he's telling him what he told somebody else when he's got the witness here to just cross-examine the witness about what he knows. And I would certainly orient him.
Which was my
Oriented
question.
Oriented at least to his prior statements, so that he can have the ability to see what he tells those people if he needs that.
You heard it differently. I heard a couple of questions ago a question which was there not an interview with the FBI? And my understanding of this line of questioning was going through the points in that interview.
That's correct, and it's GBI.
I'm sorry, that's not GBI. Just raise that in those terms.
Sure. You'd seen Travis McMichael carry a firearm regularly.
Actually, I know it's development. I asked him if he recalls making a mistake.
Sure. And I think I did ask you, but just to rephrase it, make sure we're clear. You recall making a statement to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that an accurate statement?
Yes, sir.
You regularly saw and know that Travis regularly carried a firearm, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And multiple firearms, accurate?
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you, I'm not trying to get too personal here, but I need to ask you about some messages, both on social media and text messages. In addition to your communications that you've had with Travis McMichael over the years, you've also communicated not just face-to-face and by phone, but by Facebook and through text messages too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Specifically, I want to ask you about some racial messages that you and he shared. Do you recall those messages?
I do not.
Okay.
And Judge, I'm going to renew my objection at this moment. I don't understand how this line of questioning is going to aid the court in predicting future behavior of Travis McMichael. And I understand the court has already determined maybe a weight analysis here, but under 403, what's so probative about this? What's the prejudice of this when helping the court decide how does this predict future behavior? That's the nature of that question. Sure.
First, on direct, race was brought up by the defense. I have information that I need to ask this witness about related to what was asserted affirmatively on direct. Second, based on some of the things we talked about before this witness took the stand this morning involving our motions, if there is things of a racial nature that were communicated between the two of them, I think it goes to some of the prongs that you'll be assessing during argument, including whether or not there's a concurrent investigation as to racial aspects surrounding this case. I'll direct your attention, since you said you did not recall, to Facebook, a post on October the 17th of 2019. Do you recall Travis commenting on a photo that you posted, and you said, quote, "ha ha ha ha," exclamation point, "sayonara, your slant-eyed F-U-C-K-S." Do you remember that?
No, sir.
Do you by chance know what that post was that you put up, to which Travis McMichael replied with slant-eyed F-U-C-K-S?
No, sir, I don't remember.
Let me ask you about some text messages between you and Travis McMichael, specifically November the 28th of 2019. Do you remember Travis McMichael texting you about shooting a crackhead coon with gold teeth and a high point .45? You remember that text exchange?
No, sir, I don't. Not.
You actually responded to it saying something about Newports and a 40. You remember that?
No, sir, I do not remember that.
I think it'd be appropriate for him to show an exhibit to the witness and see if you recognize it instead of testifying about it before it's admitted.
Well, I believe I'm laying the foundation for doing just that. So I've asked the questions. I'd be happy to show them the text.
Yeah, I think that's what. If you're on agrees.
Sounds like we're all heading in the same direction. This is being recognized, it is not called it out.
My approach. Look over here. This is called an extraction report. It isn't. I didn't plan on tendering it, but if you'd like me to, I can.
Are you just refreshing everybody?
Yes. This is November 28th, 2019. You see that? And then this is the exchange between Travis and yourself. Do you want to read over that for a minute? Just
To himself.
I'm sorry.
Just want to make sure he's reading it to himself. yourself.
To yourself.
Yeah.
See if that refreshes your recollection. Of course.
Yeah,
You do recall? Okay. So, to get back to the question I was asking now that I've shown you the text messages themselves, do you recall that text exchange between you and defendant Travis McMichael in which he was talking about shooting a black coon with gold teeth that had a high point 45?
He was referring to a raccoon.
Okay.
No,
A raccoon with gold teeth and a high point 45?
it was being facetious. I mean,
To which you responded that this raccoon needed Newport cigarettes. Is that your testimony?
yes, sir.
That is an exchange between you and defendant Travis McMichael, correct?
Yes, sir.
any questions for the witness? Mr. Evans? Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Evans just asked you about some friends that you testified that Travis was close with who are also black.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that right? And do you recall whether or not Travis also worked with other members of the community who were black?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did he do that in the drilling company?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you were talking earlier about working with people across different backgrounds and different races, is that what you were speaking about?
Yes.
In part?
In part.
Okay. So you've just been shown what's a text communication between you and Travis about some joke that was texted back and forth between the two of you. Do you guys make inappropriate jokes sometimes?
Yes, sir.
How does that kind of sense of humor permeate within the community here and with you and your friends?
Judge, I'm not sure how that's relevant to your inquiry about bond.
You brought it up. Judge, I'm sorry, the state brought it up and wants to know the kind of communications that he's had with Mr. McMichael. So now I'm asking the kind of communications he's
I
had.
don't understand the question.
Okay.
So that's, are you asking whether that, he explained what he said in the exchange was facts. The question is about the community.
The question is about the way that this witness and others may interact through text messages, sending each other jokes or inappropriate comments and making inappropriate comments to each other, and to ask him about that. And I believe the state has offered this to refresh his memory about something to do with a coon for the purpose of saying that this is some type of racist communication between Mr. McMichael. I'm assuming that's where they're going with their argument with this. So I'm going to ask him about whether or not these type of jokes exist and who they exist between, and whether this is...
It's not consistent with his testimony.
Huh?
It's not, his testimony was definitely not he was high.
I understand that's what his testimony was. But the way that he was asked the question illuminated what could be an argument. I guess if Your Honor doesn't want me to recharacterize the testimony, which I'm not going to do, but making jokes, I guess what we could do, Judge, is see where the state goes with it. I understand what the court's concern is. Am I going outside of what the testimony is? No, I get that. I just understand what the state is proposing to bring up later. So why don't we, I'm happy to hold and see where it goes. Let's do that. Okay. I think the other one you said you didn't remember or know about. Okay, I don't have anything further.
Thanks, sir. You missed that. Yeah, you should have step up. So not, no discussion.
Not for this, no discussion testimony.
We didn't get the other one. I don't got the screenshot on it.
Witness Judge, Ashley Langford.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give to the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes.
Ms. Langford, you can take off your mask once you're seated. If you would, please speak into the microphone.
Okay.
I'm going to stand a little bit at an angle to you, but would you state your full name and spell your first name, because we have another Ashley.
Ashley Langford, Ashley.
And Miss Langford, where do you live?
Brunswick.
How long have you lived in Brunswick?
My whole life.
Are you married?
Yes, sir.
And are you married to Zach Langford?
Yes, sir.
How long are you married?
10 years.
10 years. And how many children do you have?
2.
And does that include a little 3-year-old named Grayson?
Yes, sir.
What kind of work do you do without naming the company you work for?
It's a financial planning firm. I'm director of operations.
And what is a director of operations?
It's kind of everything that you would do inside the office. I just keep everything running, and I primarily handle a lot of our investment work as well.
So you do some work with clients?
Oh, yes, sir.
Involving their finances?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you worked for this investment firm?
14 years.
Did you have a job prior to that?
Yes, sir. I worked at a cardiologist's office when I was in high school, and then the only other job before that was a restaurant.
Do you know Travis McMichael?
Yes, sir.
How do you know Travis?
I met him through my husband, Zach, whenever we first started dating 15 years ago.
And would you tell the court what kinds of things you do with Travis?
He would come over to our house for dinner. We would go out on the boat. We would go to the hunting club. Just primarily with, we did stuff with our kids. Because
Your 3.5-year-old Grayson, he's about the same age as Everett.
Yes, sir.
Are they friends?
Yes, sir.
And do they play with each other?
Mm-hmm.
The outings that you described, that's you and your child and Travis and his child?
Yeah, most of the time Zach would be with us, but sometimes he would bring Everett over and to play.
How would you describe Travis's personality?
He's kind of just a comical guy. He's there to make everybody laugh and happy, and
Does he have a temper?
I've never seen it.
In your 15 years of knowing Travis, you ever seen him just fly off the handle?
No, sir.
Have you ever seen him being confrontational with others?
No, sir.
Starting arguments or fights?
No, sir. He was typically there to make everybody laugh.
We're here for a bond hearing. The judge is going to consider these aspects of Travis's personality. Do you have an opinion as to whether Travis would flee the jurisdiction of the court, would run, if granted a bond?
No, sir. That's not his personality at all.
Why?
That's not the type of person he is. He's not going to run from his problem. You know, he would see it through fully. And he's got his son here that he's not going to leave as well.
Were you aware of the crime in his neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
During the 2018-2019 time period?
Mm-hmm.
How were you aware of that?
There's a Facebook scanner page where, you know, people will listen to the scanner and post what's being said, and, you know, I'd seen it there because, I mean, I've had my car broken into before, you know, so like I just kept up with where there was theft in the area. And so I may have screenshot, you know, a post or so, sent to Travis to make sure that he knew that, you know, things were going on in his area.
So you two were talking about the crime with you actually informing him when you could.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever express to you frustration about the uptick in crime in his neighborhood?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, just, you know, that I guess there was crime happening, and, you know, he had a confrontation prior to the February date that he was on the phone with Zach at that point, so I knew about that.
He was actually talking to Zach Langford when he saw the man on February 11th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did he call the police at that time?
Yes, sir. He hung up and said, you know, let me hang up, and he hung up then.
After the February 23rd incident, did Travis express any remorse?
Yes, sir. He told me that he wished it never happened like that he would never want that to happen, and he prayed for Ahmaud's mother and family daily.
Did you ever question his sincerity in that?
No, sir.
What is your opinion with regard to Travis's honesty and truthfulness?
I mean, he's always been honest to me, especially on something of this magnitude. I didn't feel like that he was being just truthful to me.
During the time period between February 23rd and May 7th, before his time of his arrest, did he ever confide in you or express to you any feelings or desires he had to run before he was arrested?
No, sir.
Or to confront any people before he was arrested?
No, sir.
Or engage in any felonious conduct?
No, sir.
Have you ever known Travis to engage in any felonious conduct?
No, sir.
Do you know from your friendship with Travis anything about any involvement with any hate groups?
No, sir.
Is that even consistent with his personality?
No, sir. Not at all.
Miss Langford, I don't know if you did this with your permission or not, but your husband was here a minute ago with the willingness to put up property to ensure that Travis would show up in court. He discussed that with you?
Yes, sir.
And are you okay with putting up property?
Yes, sir.
To ensure he would appear in court?
Mm-hmm.
And abide by all the conditions if this judge were to set bond?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This gentleman has a question. Sure.
Briefly. Hi, Ms. Langford. My name is Jesse Evans. I represent the state of Georgia. So looking back at some of the notes that I have here, you said that you've known defendant Travis McMichael for 15 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that predates his stint in the Coast Guard, correct?
Yes, sir.
There were about 4 years that he was away while he was in the Coast Guard. Is that accurate?
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay. Not sure on the precise time, so I won't hold you to
Yeah.
it. Okay. And you're a supporter of Travis McMichael and that you're here to testify on his behalf, and is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And no matter what the decision this court makes, you'll continue to be a supporter of his as a 15-year friend, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Fair to say that you don't know all the facts of this case. You know what you've maybe seen on the media or what Travis McMichael, the defendant in this case, has told you, correct?
That's correct, until the hearing.
And I want to talk to you about the remorse that Travis McMichael has expressed to you. The chronology of him saying that he feels bad about what happened to Ahmaud, that was after the shooting, correct?
Yes, sir.
And predating his arrest and charge for murder, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in between that time, at some point, he expressed to you that he was sorry for what he'd done.
Yes, sir.
There was an interview that was conducted with you by the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. They also interviewed your husband, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to ask you about a prior gun theft. Do you remember Travis McMichael talking to you about a gun that was stolen from a vehicle at his home?
I remember hearing about it, yes, sir.
Okay, you heard about it. That didn't come directly from him?
I mean, he may have been at our house and told us about it at the same time, but I mean, I think he called my husband and told him, and I was with him.
You remember Travis directly telling you that he didn't know who had taken that firearm and it could have been kids?
I think we talked about that, yes, sir.
You did talk directly to him about
after
that?
the fact.
Got it.
On the same day.
Travis McMichael, he gave you his version of what happened on February 23rd. That's the date of the shooting, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But you weren't present there and didn't see it or anything like that?
Correct.
When he did give his version of it, one of the quotes that I had from your interview, Travis McMichael told you that he tried to, quote, corner up Mr. Arbery. Do you remember that?
I apologize, that was months ago. I'm not really sure if I said corner, but, you know, I mean, basically they just wanted to stop him to talk to him to allow police to get there.
The final question, or one of the final questions that you were asked about involved hate groups and things like that. You'd agree with me that you only know what is in a person's heart and mind based on what you see or what they tell you, correct?
Correct.
In other words, a person could harbor views that if you haven't seen it or haven't been shared with you, you might not know about, correct?
Correct, anybody can.
Anybody, even a close friend?
Right.
Thank you, ma'am. Just one second, ma'am. Is there a mortgage on the property by chance?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you know how much equity you have in the property?
And one of the properties I have $41,000.
Okay. And then you said one of the properties, there's more than one?
Yes, sir.
What's the other one? You know, the equity, and is there a mortgage on it?
I haven't found that out yet.
Okay.
I did reach out to him. I'm waiting to hear back.
Both of them have mortgages, though?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any reader?
Very briefly, Mr. Evans asked you about knowing what was in Travis's heart. From observations of knowing him for 15 years, have you ever seen any actions consistent with him being a member of a hate group or acting in a hateful way towards a group?
No, sir. Never.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think I've confirmed this, but you also didn't see him when he gunned down Ahmaud Arbery in the middle of the street on February 23rd of 2020.
I did not see the altercation happen. No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You missed it. Understand that is the final witness.
Final live witness, we have a few documents, but if you want us to wait till after lunch, we do.
Let's break for lunch. I also want to make sure, given the rest of what's going on, very much because I understand there's overlapping witnesses in some way with Gregory McMichael.
The only witness that overlaps, Your Honor, is me, McMichael. We'll recall her so that she can talk about issues having to do with Greg. And then from that point on, the rest of our witnesses are separate.
Because I had police testify. I'm just trying to figure out what to do for lunch.
If they can just be released for lunch, then we'll make sure our witnesses return after them.
And that's fine. We'll do that. If I can just make sure also that all of them are instructed that since they're not witnesses, there can be no discussion about the testimony. Why don't we? I'm going to try to compress this a little bit. Probably not how much, but let's plan on 1:20. So 2:15, 1:25, 2:15. Let's get back on the record on 2:15. We'll address the remainder of the documentary evidence that will contain the state's case. Anything further from the state before we recess?
No, Your Honor.
From Travis?
No.
From Gregory?
No, Your Honor.
There you are.